Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Are you kidding me? It is episode 31. The Husky boys are back in it. I'm Big Papa. That's Bobby Hoops. Hoops, how we feeling tonight?
Good. Is there some football? Are we recording during a football game or something?
Wouldn't know, bro. I don't do football.
Who watches football?
Actually, I shouldn't say I don't do football because I do.
Barbaric sport.
But this is just a sneak peek on like who made Donkey of the Week. But like when dudes who work for like Split Zone Duo go on this like raging bit, maybe your name's like Richard Johnson, you're like, hey, nobody watches college basketball. Call me in March. What?
It was so disappointing to listen to that stuff from these people, and it's not just Split Zone Duo. You can hear it from other college football people who it's like, it's college sports are so beautiful, and yeah, we all love college football. But then they just take this turn and like, well, college basketball sucks. It's a crappy product. It's not good. It's just a brick. Like, you just don't watch. Clearly, you don't watch.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you have to say is like, hey, I just don't really care about college basketball until March. Which, by the way, we all live and walk amongst people who think the same thing, and that's fine. I totally get it.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who think that way about like baseball, 162 games. I completely understand. If you're like, hey, I can't keep up with 162 games.
Yeah.
I'll give you like a fourth in the playoffs if my team makes it. Totally get it.
Yeah.
I get why football makes sense because you're guaranteed 12 games.
Yep.
It's one Saturday a week or whatever weekday if it falls on that. But like, dude, to go on a 12-minute rager about how, I mean, the man was talking about, if y'all don't know, Split Zone Duo, like pretty, you would say what, Hoops? It's a pretty nationwide show that covers.
Oh, yeah, they're a big deal. And I would say both of us would say that we like them and respect them and think they do a really good job talking about college football and the wide world around college football. But man, they just like out of nowhere just sucker punched us both with their disgust and distaste for college basketball. And we were like, what the heck's going on right now?
Like, dude, and Richard Johnson is like a University of Florida alum. And so, I mean, I've got no problem. Again, like even Steve Godfrey, he admitted, he said, I don't really keep up with college basketball. Like if I know anything about what's happening at Vanderbilt, like I talk to my buddies who got season tickets. Great. No problem. Say your bid, like do your thing. But when Richard Johnson, who's, by the way, Florida Gators are in the friggin' top 10, and is just laying it out there like,
you've got a really good team.
It's predicated on scoring points. If you don't score points, it's a terrible product to watch. Like, just turn it off. I'm like, well, every sport's predicated on scoring points. Like, at some point, somebody wins by literally scoring one more point than the other person or more. But again, like you said, if it's like, dude, if you just don't really like college basketball until the tournament starts, just say that. Straight. Whew, sorry, I didn't.
Oh yeah, you really donkey of the week right off the bat for Big Papa.
My heavens, like I didn't even think I needed to get that off my chest. Like you and others, like you heard it several weeks ago when I canceled my subscription because it like just ate at me. I thought I had processed it and moved on, and I kind of gave myself like 48 hours to be like, bro, what? And then,
hey man, we love ball. We're protective of ball.
I really think that's what it is. Like we just love it.
Despite the Tuesday that you and I both had, we still love ball. We still love this,
bro. That I was like, I hate basketball so much because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, last time we were together, I think at this point, regular season was wrapping up. We talked about gearing up for conference play and kind of was like, you know what? You got about 1 or 2 games, everybody, to figure it out. Because once you get into conference play, everybody's putting the boxing gloves on and we're throwing haymakers every Tuesday, Wednesday night, Saturday. Yeah, get the gloves out. We're playing. So, since conference play started, here's what happened last Saturday, January 4th. Real quick rundown. Kentucky, 106. Florida, 100. Suck it, Richard Johnson. Tennessee, 76. Arkansas, Conman goes down in the Tommy Bowl at Food City Center, 76-52. Auburn, we'll talk about them. Auburn, 84. Missouri, 68. Alabama, Tide rolls, 107. Oklahoma, 79. A&M, they gave it to Texas. I bet they were far down there, 80-60. Mississippi State rolls, baby, 85-50 over South Carolina. 63-51, Ole Miss over Georgia. And then Vanderbilt was the lone team. Went on the road down to the boot, won 80-72. Tuesday night, Georgia 82, Cat 69.
I don't want to talk about
Florida down 73, Tennessee 43. Auburn on the road. Squeak one out, even though at one point I think they were almost up 20 points. Texas, last couple minutes, gave them a little bit of a noogie, but Auburn wins 87.
Yeah, gave them something to think about.
Yeah, just a little like, I'm going to throw some cold water on your heat real quick. Mississippi State, 76. Vandy, 64. Road win for them. Missouri takes care of business, 83-67 over LSU. Wednesday night, Bama on the road to maybe South Carolina is just the team that just hot dog water. 88-68.
It's not looking good for South Carolina.
No, I don't. I think it's probably fair to say we don't really feel bad. A&M, close one, 80-78 over Oklahoma. And then, shocker. Ole Miss beats Conman, 73-66. There you go. God, sucks to suck.
It's so good.
Any overall takeaways from
so good?
Man. So it just like I think one of the things that I appreciate so much is probably twofold. By the way, folks, like I'm talking about Arkansas at this moment, so hang in there with me. Arkansas fans are really starting to lean in on the like Kentucky fans weren't joking. Like,
yeah,
I think that probably first 6 to 7 games of non-con, Arkansas fans were like, man, like this is all pretty similar to what he ran at Kentucky, what he ran at Memphis. We're more athletic than these teams. You're like, all right, whatever. Then you go play Baylor. Then you go play Tennessee. Then, it stacks up when we're like, oh, when we play a team with a pulse, something's not right. And you're realizing, yeah, it doesn't really matter how athletic the team is. They stink from shooting 3 ball. Can they go block 10 plus shots in a game? Sure, they can. So, I mean, they're going to win the game? No. That's why they go score 52 points. It's because they can't score unless Boogie has the ball, DJ Wagner sometimes, John L. I mean, if Cal doesn't keep him on the bench, even though he's getting paid probably the most NIL of anybody on that team right now.
I mean, I was texting with you about it because my wife and I went to the Tennessee-Arkansas game on Saturday and watching warm-ups, going down Arkansas's roster of like, no, well, this guy was here last year and that guy was there. And this is John L. Davis. He was like all world at FAU, took them to the Final Four. Like on paper, they should be so good. They should be a top 10 team easy.
Yeah. Easy.
And it was the same. I mean, all too well. It was the same. He's not coaching. He admitted after the game, as he did plenty of times in Lexington, like, yeah, we didn't even have a shoot around this morning. And maybe I should have had a shoot around. But we just kind of woke up and showed up at the gym and rolled the ball out there and let's see what happens. He admitted it. And I was just sitting there flabbergasted a little bit. Like I figured we'd beat them, especially at home. We hardly ever lose at home. Right. But I mean, I had a buddy from home in Maryland ask me. He was he likes to wet the beat, gamble a little bit. Yeah. He's kind of like, hey, Tennessee's. I think they were favored by like 12.5, and I was like, man, I don't know that I'd take that bet. Because, like, I think we'll win, but I was kind of like, I mean, with the talent Arkansas has, sure, they could pop off and make this a game easily. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
And then we win by 25. And it wasn't close ever.
Like, damn, man, really should tell the boy, hammer it.
Yeah, he doesn't coach. He just stands there and stamps his feet and yells and whines and it's a joy to be there in person to watch Cal. I'll miss him when he's gone. It's so fun to be against him.
As you said, it's one of your favorite pastimes is to see him stomp and scream at the top of his lungs because he doesn't know what's happening or how to fix it. And so his his bodily reaction is to just pout and
it's great.
All over the floor.
It's delicious.
Well, I'm glad y'all got to see that in person. I was clearly, and I mean, on Discord, I jumped in the Tennessee channel and I was like, you know what to do. And then like Arkansas fans decided to pile in and write these life story long text messages of, man, Kentucky fan, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to go back in. It's not because like they tagged me. They just were responding later to seeing my message, which I wasn't tagging them. Like, hey, get in here. Let's talk about it. And I wanted just to respond and be like, bro, I don't need your life story. Like I had the guy as my head coach for 15 years. I just want him to lose every game. Yeah. That's all. I'm not asking for a lot. Just lose.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. As I've told people lately, I'm basically giving myself a year and then I'll see how I feel afterward. Yeah. If I don't feel like justice has been served, then fire me up for year 2, baby. I'll double down even harder.
Drinking that haterade.
Yeah. I literally wake up earlier each day to hate even more.
Hate.
Other than that, you know, I think it's safe to say Auburn maybe the best, not just in the league.
Oh, I think definitively they're the best.
Yeah.
From how they looked in non-con, especially that Duke game. I mean, they have. It's hard to see a flaw right now. I mean, their team got into a fight that redirected an airplane a few months ago, and it didn't put a single, you know, it was barely a hurdle for this team. They've been just cruising.
Somehow I think
it feels like they hardly have any holes. John Broome is just he's a monster. He's almost unstoppable. I think definitively Auburn's the best.
Yeah, I was trying to find their stats and just like so John, he's leading their team in all categories of points at 18 a game, 11 rebounds a game. He leads them in assists with 3.4 a game. At this point, and blocks at 2.7. The only person on their team who is leading in some statistical category is Baker Mazar. I think is how you pronounce his last name. Just almost a steal and a half a game. Otherwise, he leads the team in all statistical categories.
Yeah. He's awesome.
By the way, guys, he's averaging 28 minutes a game. It's not like he's out there for 38.
They're dang good.
It just, they're averaging 87.9 points a game, almost 40 rebounds as a team again. Bruce is cooking with gas. And you just get, basically, if your team plays them, you just pray they, I don't know, get another fight in a plane and it somehow shakes their core and they're just messed up for that night. But otherwise, they're going to be locked in. Mm-hmm. I'll probably talk about it more. I think Mississippi State. I know we're 2 games in from a conference play standpoint, but I think Mississippi State could be flirting.
I mean, I truly think in a conference like the SEC, like the teams that are as we move into January and into February, and the teams that are going to be able to win on the road in this league, like that's the decider. Are you real or not? If you can win on the road in the SEC, like you're the real deal.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more teams, probably 3/4, if not definitely more, like at least half who are going to be 500. Maybe not win a game on the road, or one at best. And I say that like as somebody who thinks Kentucky could be one of those teams in theory. Like, you haven't really proved that you can beat a team, and like one of them is on a neutral court, but you've had 2 true away games, Clemson, and then the other night at Georgia, and like, whoo, not good. And yeah, I mean, at this point, outside of really maybe South Carolina, Vandy-ish, and LSU,
Texas hadn't looked super awesome. They had that little spurt at the end to make it somewhat competitive against Auburn, like you said. But yeah, Texas,
Yeah. But I think like those are probably your 3 teams that you could look at and say, as a fan, at least, and be like, okay, like I've got confidence that us on the road, we should be fine. Otherwise, other than that, like, buckle up. Think it just doesn't matter who you're playing.
I mean, is it over half of the conference is ranked right now, I think?
Yes, I believe there's 9 or 10 teams who are in the top 25.
I mean, it's just stupid. It's so good.
Which kind of made me think I've just been listening to the talking heads, and I think we've said it over and over again of this is arguably the best the SEC's maybe ever been, top to bottom.
Yeah.
And one of them said, if your team he's basically saying like, if my team finishes 11-7, usually in the SEC, probably not been a really great conference year. Versus he's like, honestly, just this year, if you finish 11-7, I'm probably calling on my buddies and like we're throwing a rager at my condo to celebrate. If you can scathe an 11-7 conference record this year, like I think it's arguably pretty good.
There's going to be a lot of SEC teams in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to end up being 9-10 teams that make it, but right now it's. I mean, this league is 13 to 14 teams, like super good and competitive.
I mean, I mean, in my head, I'm like, I think there's really only 3 teams that don't make it at this point. And that's like only because, again, like a South Carolina, only like they finished non-con. I'm looking up their current record's 10-5, so they've lost 2. So I guess they entered from non-conference 10-3, but like everybody else was 11-2, 12-1, 13-8. So you're talking about splitting hairs probably at that point, but just I'm sure any other team in some other conference is like, well, if we entered the conference play 10-3, like we're feeling great about our next 15 to 18 games, whatever, per conference. But this year, if that ends up being the reason, looking back, and a team's like, oh, you're telling me we didn't get in because we finished non-conference 10-3. I'm sure a coach is going to be like, what are we going to do? What are we supposed to do? So other than get more NIL and find a better play. So, other than that, I think Bama also up there too. Great, just what we need, right? Alabama and Auburn to be the 2 teams that are playing each other to win the.
Awesome,
great.
Love that.
Everybody can't wait. Maybe A&M can sneak. I'm still on the like.
It's kind of your bit now.
Yeah. Something's just going to happen where old Buzz is going to. It's probably because I think, as I've stated here before, and I'm keeping my ear close to what the people are talking about online. Buzz is looking for a way out. That's all I'm saying. He wants to go West Coast. That's fine. Like, do your thing.
You've been saying that. Yeah, you've been passing that along for a little while.
Yeah, it's probably probably like 2 years. Like you'd probably say, is that kind of not getting old? I'm just leaning in. I'm just
it's just what you hear. It's just what I hear.
Hey, not my news. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Burner Ball Discord, you can literally get on it too.
Yeah.
Not my news. So other than that, where do you want to start? You want to start with Con Man and talk about the highs? Do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, there wasn't much else. I mean, I kind of talked about how it in person, it was just crazy to see just knowing all the dudes on Arkansas. And it's like, man, like they got so much talent, and it's crazy that they're getting beat by 25 points right now. And I obviously Tennessee's amongst the best teams in the country. Chaz Lanier is, oh my gosh, he's just after that game, there are a lot of people making some, the comparisons to Dalton have been, that's not exactly new for Tennessee fans, but like people were pointing out that like after that game, through, I guess it was like 15 games into the season, his stats, if you put them up next to Dalton's from last year, he's like a whole 5 points per game more. His shooting percentages are better. All across the board, he's been playing better than Dalton was last year, which is obviously Dalton heated up down the stretch and became the SEC Player of the Year and just lit the world on fire. And watching Chaz operate in person, I mean, he's just stone cold killer out there because he's not very expressive. He just kind of ho hum. Let me run around a few picks to hit another 3. So it was a lot of fun. And watching Igor Milicic pull down 18 rebounds in that game. Watching my old boy Jonas Adu get, oh man, he got
worked.
booed. I knew he would get booed but I did not expect. I mean, you'd think he like stole something from some of the people in the audience, like the absolute, like my wife and I, we were sitting up, like we booed, of course, all in, in good fun. Yeah, you left us, so we're gonna boo you a little bit. But like, there are some folks who, man, they really took that one personally, and I'm kind of sitting there like, guys, like 3 of our 5 starters are transfer portal guys. Like, it's kind of like, this is a little weird.
Yeah.
But oh man, Jonas Adu it was loud whenever he touched the ball. At his in the first half, he got fouled, went to the line, bricked both free throws. Place went insane, and it was just, it got to the point where I felt like I felt a little bad for him a little bit, but outside of that, it was a delightful experience. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, just beat the brakes off them. Our defense is crazy. We were more physical, clearly wanted it more. We clearly had shoot around beforehand. We shot the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
What a novel concept. So yeah, I mean, we had a great time. It was a fun game. Fun.
Good.
Love beating Coach Calipari.
So refreshing just being on this side of it, being like, oh,
yeah,
I've seen what you've been talking about for the last 15 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah,
it's
pretty fun.
You
had a fun time on Saturday too.
Yeah, outside of clocking in to hate watch for a while. Cats and Florida, like, and again, like this kind of goes back to my last point. Florida's good, and I mean, outside of the fact that Todd Golden shouldn't be on the sideline, shouldn't be coaching, whatever.
Yes,
man, they're good. And to watch a game that went 106 to 100, like, bro, your team could put up points. And by the way, the second best rebounding team in the country, second best as a team in rebounding in the country.
Yep. Dude, they've got some monsters down in the paint.
I mean, listen to this stat box. Walter Clayton Jr. popped off for 33 points, hit 6 of 12 from 3, 9 of 16 field goal. Elijah Martin, he transferred from FAU, came into Florida, 26 points, went 5 of 12 from 3, 9 of 17 from field goal. Both of them had a couple rebounds. Elijah had 5 rebounds by himself. Let's see, this Ruben Chinyulu, I think, Chinyulu, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was a beast. He got in some foul trouble late, but he had 10 points, 8 rebounds by himself. Alex Condon, 7 points, 10 rebounds by himself. So Florida, outside of just re-emphasizing like how good they are, I think it's wild how physical and how much emphasis they have put on their guys to say we're not only going to rely on our big men to go get rebounds and then kind of get the market from 5 feet in. It's everybody play with your hair on fire, go friggin' fly to the rim and anticipate getting a rebound outside of, unless Clayton Jr. or Martin throw up a shot, then you could probably say like, there's probably a really good chance it's about to go in.
Probably.
I remember one of the Kentucky beat writers was saying that, funny enough, like they usually don't get coach availability to chat, especially with an opposing coach who's come in to Lexington for the ball game. Like rarely do they get to have any kind of one-on-one with them pregame, and somehow they like happen to bump into Golden, and we're just kind of like, hey, since you're here, can you chat real quick and say great? And I was like, yeah, sure. And they gave him the softball stuff of like, what have you told your guys in the locker room and kind of anticipated coming here? Like, what do you got to do in order to win this game? What's on the chalkboard, basically? What have you written down? And he was like, well, I'll tell you, to be honest, it's kind of pretty simple. Like, we're going to have to continue to rebound, play tough defense. Even though he did say defense isn't necessarily our strongest suit, but we can still play defense because we're athletic enough and we fly around. Score points, that's what we naturally do as well. And he's like, and we've got to keep Kobe Brea off the three-point line. And he's like, honestly, Kobe Brea shoots and makes 8+ threes in tonight's game. Like, well, it's probably safe to say that I'm not going to be a happy camper after this game. We're probably going to lose. Yeah. And then they were just chuckling because he was like, oh my God, he called it. They were like, he called it from the beginning. He was like, if Kobe Brea shoots and makes at least, Kobe ended up going 7 of 9, but essentially was like, he called it. And I'm sure he's like, I told you all, our staff pounded it in your heads. Like, you cannot let that dude go off tonight. And if you do, like, there's a really great chance we lose, even if we keep up and are going bucket for bucket with him. And I, as you've used the phrase, watching him play, I was clapping like a baby seal from my living room. I wonder, and yes, statistically right now, Kobe technically is like the best three-point shooter in college basketball. I think Water will find its level.
Sure.
Pretty hard.
7 of 9 from 3 is like, that's a career day.
Yeah. But to shoot, over 50% from 3, like pretty insane for the entire season. And I saw that stat and it was like, but like a minimum of 80 shots have been put up, which is still like stupid impressive. So
absolutely.
Kobe goes off. Lamont Moeller has a great game.
You had six Wildcats scored over 14 points.
Yeah,
it was just raindrops.
Entire starting lineups in double digits point wise. Had a pretty decent rotation. Lamont had to carry a pretty good chunk of minutes. He had 33 that game, which right now with Kirk Risa being out, just kind of is what it is. Travis Perry's, because of that, is getting some run as the backup point guard. Thankfully, Lamont seems to be pretty good with that. Being like, sure, I'll carry some heavier minutes rather than playing, say, 28. I'm sure it's like a safer number at the end of the day from a coach standpoint. To be able to have a dude come off the bench and, I'll give you 23. And then like,
7 threes off the bench. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. And then, finish the game as a team, 14 of 29. I mean, Florida hit 12 threes as a team.
Yeah.
I remember at one point, I think Kentucky was up 9, and it started to feel like, all right, we're, last 2 minutes, we're starting to push and kind of build that lead up again. Which, by the way, they had 3 different runs of 10. It was like 10-0 plus runs, 3 different times. I mean, I was even like, I didn't know we had that in us. But shot clock's winding down. They're just looking for a play, get the ball to Walter, and hits a little pin screen, turns it down, and then throws it up. And in that moment, I didn't think it was going in, but after it went in, I was like, I immediately had a flashback to last year where it's like, it's this, I'm watching, it's the Twilight Zone. It's the same thing. Kentucky is up, and Walter Clayton Jr. is about to bring them home, and they're going to come back and win the game. I was like, I cannot, I'm about to watch this a second time. And he's going to, have another career day in rough, just goes off. But somehow scores 33 points and isn't able to help them get across the finish line. Yeah, man. After that game, after taking a deep breath, that was awesome. I just was like, all right, this is what we need. Like us cooking with gas at a high efficiency is that game. And it doesn't even have to mean you score 100 plus points, but scoring 106 against a team like Florida.
Yeah.
Where you're just trading baskets at that point. And
we scored 43 against Florida a few days later. So,
and I listened to both, and even on the rewatch, I was like, I think both teams actually played pretty solid defense for the most part. It just was like one of those
games. The shots were falling.
This is kind of what you dream of and hope for in any college basketball game you watch. If you,
it's really like this is the game you point to for the people who are saying college basketball sucks. Okay, watch this game.
Yeah, well then watch
this game was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned it. Do we need to have like therapy time for the next couple minutes?
I mean, it was actually kind of, I don't know if ironic or like apropos, however you say that term, that the stomach bug made its way through our house and decided to hit me as soon as that game ended. It's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Watching that Tennessee-Florida game on Tuesday, I said it in a group text with you guys. It was definitely prisoner of the moment vibes. But even here, a couple days later, I can think of maybe a couple off the top of my head that felt worse. But that was one of the worst Tennessee basketball performances I have ever seen on Tuesday night. And the fact that we were the number 1 team, 14-0 going into it, I mean, it was brutal. It was so, and for everything that you just said about how good Florida is, and I mean, I knew it was going to be tough. I think Florida was favored by like 4 going into the game, and it truly felt like our first 2 possessions, Chaz Lanier missed a couple shots, and then it just it was over. Just over after that. Florida was bigger, tougher, faster, more athletic, wanted it more. They didn't even shoot that great. Like, our defense is always going to be like pretty good. But I mean, our shooting was just abysmal. And Florida's, and part of that was kudos to Florida. They would not let us get our offense in rhythm. But we had plenty of opportunities with open shots that we just clanked them. I mean, at one point we were 4 of 29 from 3. I think at one point right up until the end, we were like 1 of 25. I mean, it was abysmal shooting. just shot 21% as a team, 12 of 56. You made 12 shots in the game. 12. I mean, it's like it doesn't get any worse than that. And so, like, so kudos to Florida. They I don't think we match up great against them. Obviously, some of that, like losing by 30, some of that I just chalk up to we just shot horribly, and you're gonna have nights where you shoot horribly, and it just happens. It historically happens to Tennessee a few times a year. I think the last couple of years they've kind of figured things out to where we have answers for when that happened. Usually, that at least this year, hopefully that answer would be Chaz Lanier. And Chaz, poor Chaz. He had his worst night in Orange that he's had yet. Thankfully, he's been super consistent. But so yeah, he just shot horribly. I'm not worried about that being a thing moving forward. Obviously, Florida defends super well. I think my big takeaway, kind of like some confirmation that I had been kind of worried about with this team that I mentioned on the previous pod was after we lost JP Estrella, I've just been like, okay, what happens when we face a team with depth in the post, with not one, not two, not like Florida's got like 4 big men in the post, because really we've got Felix Akpara. He is our center. We don't have any others. And then you're hoping for Igor Milicic to kind of slide in. He's really a 3-4 more than he is a 5. And Cade Phillips, who's a physical player. He's going to be an energy guy, but we just don't have depth in the post. And matching up with a team like Florida, I mean, who's going to really try to crash the boards and go after every shot. I mean, they out rebounded us. Let's see. We had 37 to their 56. So, I mean, that's it right there. Is you don't shoot well and you get out rebounded by that much. Like that's why you lost by 30. So that was the one thing leaving that game. I'm not worried about the shooting. Okay. You had an off night. Like that right there is like, if you're going to beat Tennessee, you hope that they shoot poorly. You hope every team shoots poorly, but like that seems like the ticket right now is if you've got some big physical dudes who are going to crash the boards and make things tough in the post. We just don't have the bodies for that. So that's what I feel like is the hole in this team, and it was greatly exposed by Florida. I think we'll be okay. I mean, I don't know how far we've, I think they said something that was some sort of record for the worst loss the number 1 team's ever had. But so I'm not worried about where we fall in the standings and whatnot. We go down to Austin this weekend to play at Texas. So that's an opportunity to. It'll be tough, of course. Road games are tough, but that's the thing for me is they've got to figure something out. Because I know it's not so much a lack of effort or anything like that. It's just you got to figure out a way because we're undersized as a team. So yeah, it was a brutal watch, just brutal. There were moments where I was like, why am I still watching this?
Like we're old enough to be like, I don't have to like.
I can just go to bed.
Yeah, or I can go.
No, I want to see if they fight back. I want to see. Maybe they may. I know they're not going to win, but I just want to see some heart. No heart tonight.
No,
just more clanks and bricks and turnovers and getting dunked on again and again and again.
But what if? What if the last 5 minutes we
We'll show some heart, guys. I know you got it.
show some
And a part
grit?
of me also, I did sit there with a little bit of like a sick grin of like, I bet Rick's loving this a little bit. A little bit. I bet Rick's loving this because he's like,
This,
now I get to go kick y'all's butt in practice
that's
for
the
3,
sicko
4,
part of
5
him.
days.
This
Oh
is what
yeah.
we
Y'all
this
think
is
you're
what we
hot.
needed.
Yeah. Now I get to wax you in practice and tell you how show you that 30-point loss box score. So I think we'll be fine. I think it shows Tennessee's probably in the group beneath the elite teams this year.
Right.
But we're right there. I think it was just a poor night for Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, it does feel like that's the epitome of, without using the word that I want to say, poop happens, and you just
yeah.
flush it and move on. Like,
Yeah.
I wish college basketball wasn't that way, but I guess, again, like I even described, like professional sports earlier, like the season, the length is long enough to where you can at least look at it from an objective view and just say, yeah, we're going to have some clunkers and it's going to be really bad and really hard to watch. And you just kind of have to be like, okay, move on.
Yep.
And it doesn't diminish the frustration, the, pain, whatever, like you feel in your body, and do whatever you got to do to cope kind of thing. But I think it's the correct response regardless, especially for dudes who play and coaches, just to be like, man, that really sucked.
Yeah, let's burn that tape.
Let's just
move on to Texas.
We'll get on to Saturday, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll move on. Versus like us, which we'll dissect the whole thing and just sit here and talk more about it. Yeah. Speaking of
soggy sorrows,
I have one question. Do you, in Deacon's time, in your time just being a Vol fan, watching him and his tenure, do you think that this is like for him and his teams, like there's just always one, if not two games in the regular season where you're like, man, we look like a bunch of 5-year-olds when it comes to trying to get the ball through a hoop. I do think from afar, maybe the 15 points in one half, the first half, was probably a new one. But otherwise, I was like, I mean, that's not. You can speak more to it. I just didn't know from a Tennessee standpoint of like, we're not really like that shocked that we had a night offensively speaking, outside of like a handful of guys over the years, DK, so on, where you're like, like those guys at least probably had some buckets, even if they shot, if they went 5 of 20 and they got in double digits, but it was like even they were like, it was just terrible all around. And one of those nights. So I don't know. I didn't know if it's just we all kind of expected at this point in a regular season format.
I mean, I think, I think by proxy of Rick, he'd always rather take the guy who is going to work as hard, if not harder, defensively, which, for all the great that is like a Jemai Meshack, of what he brings to the team off the court to what he brings to the effort and hustle and physicality and his defense. Like the guy he's a smart player. He makes good passes, all that stuff. He cannot shoot the ball. He just can't. But Rick loves players like that. And for the most part, like he's valuable to the team. But like in a game like Florida, it's like I was like, why is he out there? We need points right now, and Jemai Meshack can't give us points. I know I know half the game is stopping the other team from scoring. He's pretty good at that, but it was kind of like, Rick, why are we sticking with Meshack? Players like Meshack tonight. And then like you can go player by player, Zakai, he's always been kind of a streaky scorer. Milicic, he was a great scorer at Charlotte. He's been kind of streaky to start, his Tennessee season. He's not shot very well. It kind of looks like he's a little lost some confidence with his 3-point shot, but he's finding other ways to help. Gainey, he's a streaky shooter. Chaz, he's been awesome. He had a bad night. So it's like you throw all those things together, streaky, usually awesome, not tonight. Okay, yeah. And also we're a thin team. We're really like eight deep right now. So I just think you put all those things together, the kind of player that Rick prefers to have, combined with streaky shooting, combined with your best player just having the total off night. And the vibes were bad quick and it was just over. So I'm not I think the last couple, if this was a couple years ago, I'd be a lot more worried because it's just like we have to win with rock fights every game. If we have a hope of winning. No, we can score. We can light it up when we, it's not super duper consistent. It's not like the boys up in Lexington or Auburn or whatever, but we can score. But yeah, it's a classic Tennessee thing. We're gonna have a few stinkers.
Sure. Well,
how was your Tuesday night?
I was gonna say, do you feel like you've said what you need to say? I don't want you to.
Yeah, I think I've said probably too much.
Sure. I wanted to hear you talk. Well, I'll get in the pit with you. Tuesday was a absolute. We pissed down our leg. That was awesome. What's odd now? This is. I think I said it probably a little bit ago. This is now the third game that is very similar in pretty much all three of the losses together of Clemson, Ohio State, now Georgia. If you hold them side by side, pretty much all of them look the same, which is we played pretty poor defense. Clemson, you still had a chance. Ohio State, you got ran out of New York. Georgia, you had a chance. It was at one point it's 55-50, and then I'll get into it later. But from there, you had a chance. Crap the bed. Georgia pushes it, and it just kind of got out of reach in the last 3 minutes. So poor defense. Jackson Robinson not showing up when he's kind of the guy that after, like, I'll be honest, like on the show, Chaz was a heavy recruited dude for Kentucky. And I think if Chaz had landed at Kentucky, Jackson Robinson doesn't transfer from BYU. I don't know what Jackson would have done at that point. I think word was he probably would have tried to just go ahead and go to the draft or go overseas, whatever. At that point, it was really, for him, it was like, well, I'm either going to Kentucky or I'm going to go seek out the pro route. Like, I'm just following Poe. That's really my only option if there's a fit for me. If not, then like I'm not going to do all this. So Chaz commits to Tennessee, Jackson's up in Lexington, and the basically the rest of the roster was essentially built around him to be the guy. And now we are how many games in? What were we, 15? So yeah, 15 games in, 12-3, which with wins over Duke and Gonzaga, and for there's a lot where you're kind of looking around being like, wow, like what our resume kind of stacks up.
Totally.
It doesn't look great that you threw a stinker on neutral site against Ohio State, who, by the way, is like, I think a lot of people's teams have that like one team they lose to, and then of course you watch them the rest of the year and you're like, you all stink. How did we lose these guys? And
how did we lose that one?
And it's a one game form kind of situation. So they're not doing great, of course. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was trying to figure out where I was going with that. But it just Jackson, yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to harp on is there's a reason why he was the sixth man of the year at BYU in the Big 12. Big 12 had an argument to be the best conference in America.
Yep.
So that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Nice award. And so now he's thrown into a starting role. And now there's questions of even Pope, who's putting it very kindly on the radio show. And, a lot of coaches be what you would anticipate him when people are calling in to be like, all right, Jackson should be benched. Kobe should be the one starting on his back. Just the Kentuckians calling in. And that's pretty much how they sound. Hi, why? Also, I need to, and I know we got folks who listen.
That's a pretty good bit.
Thank you. Who are very much on the play the Kentucky boys. I want to see them start. That's fine. You guys, there's a reason why Trent Noah and Travis Perry do not start. If Pope and company thought that they should start, they would start them. But they don't.
Yeah.
And I think we got spoiled with Reed Sheppard, which, guys, in case you forgot, Reed Sheppard did get drafted number 3 for a reason. It wasn't just Reed's a Kentucky guy, we should start him.
The Kentucky guy.
But if y'all also forget, Conman didn't start Reed. He and Rob came off the bench. So
I forgot about that.
Y'all remember that?
He's so stupid. Why did he do
that? And I'm like, these dudes have a hit song written about them, and they don't even start. What? It was a banger too. I love that song.
Oh my goodness!
Every time I even look at it and don't,
it was a pretty good song.
I just have nightmares. Yeah. Anywho, to the lineup thing, he's not going to start the Kentucky guys unless barring massive injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean Kobe Brea is injured, Kirk Reeves is injured, Jackson's injured. Then you're talking about Travis Perry.
Yeah.
But that's just they're a year or two away before I think you legitimately could be yep, roll them in.
Yeah.
Want them to start shooting guard, point guard, whatever. I'm not discounting the fact that Travis Perry is the all-time leading scorer in Kentucky high school basketball history. I don't gloss over it.
Yeah.
I just am do you realize what the SEC level, what the floor is this year? There's a reason why he's playing 8 minutes a game. There's a reason why Trent Noah isn't stepping on the floor at the moment. Should he? Maybe there's an argument, but I think it's probably fair, as Pope was putting it, of we're evaluating now about, hey, what's some things that aren't clicking right now, and he's saying the quiet part, which is I think he's starting to probably have some conversations, and if there's one guy who can have those combos of, hey, what helps you? Because he has history with Jackson, right? He's already coached him for 2 seasons at BYU. I think he can legitimately have a combo of, hey, what do you feel sets you up for success? And he doesn't have to do the, hey, I'm just going to have to bench you and you're going to have to get over it. It's you can have an adult combo. Do you think that you just need to come off the bench instead of starting? Would that make you feel more comfortable to be able to? I think he's completely in his head right now. So it's if that's the case, great, do it. Throw Kobe in. Let him start. Dude started almost every game at Dayton last year. You think he has an issue starting? Yeah. He doesn't care. So I think the only reason why Kobe
make all the blue hairs happy on the radio.
Yeah. Finally. That's what I'm talking about. Jackson, that boy stinks. He needs to put Trent in. Okay. Let Trent go get the water first before he can before he starts. So I wouldn't be shocked if I actually wouldn't be shocked if Jackson started against Mississippi State on Saturday night. Let's just confirm and see what happens, and then following Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever they play next, if Kobe starts the next home game. But yeah, Jackson, a lot to be desired for. He seems to be in this state where if he doesn't see the first couple shots fall in, he just It just it affects the rest of his game.
Yeah.
Versus there's some games he's played where he did, like Duke, for instance. He actually didn't like score great. He didn't have a great shooting night, but crushed it defensively. Like awesome.
Totally. Yeah.
On ball, like a friggin' like glue, baby. He couldn't get away from him. So but I mean, starting to he got back cut by Blue Kane the other night. And I'm like, Blue Kane's a notch. Blue Kane, I mean, he's good at basketball. I'm not gonna say that.
Pride of Knoxville, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, but I was like, dude, if you're getting back up by Blue Kane, just let's go. Just go ahead and he ended up pretty much sitting a lot of the second half, and he had one bucket in the second half, and it was a launch three last second on the shot clock, and it went in. But even then, when he made it, it was one of those looks like, oh, thank God, I finally saw a shot go in. And sometimes those are going to be great, but is it great when you've had poor body language because you missed your first 5 shots and you're kind of like, I got nothing. Take me out of the game. I'm not adding value here defensively, assist, finding a guy to score, help my teammates out. And even in that game in general, it just, Amari Williams got 4 fouls real quick. Andrew Carr got 4 fouls. And I saw a lot of Kentucky fans try to do the ref thing. And I'm like, no, don't go there. Don't go there, because I wish I would have been, hey, huddle up. Come on, everybody take a knee. If you're going to do the ref thing and say, we got screwed, Pope, you should be yelling at the refs more. Call the SEC, throw the tape at them. Why are you? If you're going to do the ref
tweet
thing,
Greg Sankey on Twitter.
Yeah, you're actually taking away the ability then to look at the rest of the game and say, what did we do wrong? What do we need to fix, and what do we need to? If you're going to solely focus on the refs, you're basically saying we did nothing wrong as a team. Yeah. They screwed it up. Yes. Can refs interject and make it a little bit about them? Sure.
100%.
They're a third party. They're human. Of course. They can easily make the whistle a part of the game. And if you do that, it's not fun. It really stinks. But when you're playing, you have to huddle up as a team and figure out. And I don't know. I don't know if it maybe reflected on Kentucky doesn't really have an alpha on the floor who can get the dudes together to be like, hey, stop.
Yeah.
The whistle, at the moment feels and maybe is going against us. We have to adjust. If they're going to allow them to play physical, which Georgia did and realized, and I feel like I've said this before, their old Rick Pitino quote, which is, they can't call every foul. So they're just, you're going to play physical, and if the refs show they're going to let you do it, yes, while calling whistles, you got to adjust and start playing physical. And you know what Kentucky's not really a fan of? Playing physical. If you want to throw a couple punches at them, you're probably going to watch them be like, hey, no thanks.
Yeah.
That's not good. Not in this league.
Yeah.
So, quite a bit of big picture things that, again, maybe it's not fair in some way for me to say all that, because it probably is like an overreaction. But even in 3 games, I'm like, I've kind of watched the same pattern of behavior here play out.
Yeah.
And if Kentucky lines up against, say, like a Florida, Alabama, whoever, who's if they can play physical, but they probably would rather get up and down the floor a lot quicker, run some sets, run some cuts and back screens, or whatever, get the ball to a guy who can just go get a bucket. I mean, probably Arkansas too. You probably would say fit that. There's some other teams I'm missing that just fits the. Yeah. You're gonna probably feel a lot better on those nights of, hey, it's maybe not going to be track meet all night, but it's going to feel like it, which is great. That means we have no issue even wondering, are we going to get into the half court to start or play? I mean, Georgia, pretty much they pressed the entire night. Yeah. So you're pressing, and then by the time you even get to the ball to, 3/4 of the court, shot clock's already at 20, 19 seconds, and you haven't even begun to run your play. So, Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia makes it hard.
And, Mike White's a good coach. I mean, I don't even want to take away from Georgia. I think that overall they had a great game plan. Kentucky did not want to get physical, and they took advantage of it. And the funny thing is Georgia didn't even shoot well at all, like, for the most part. Like, they went 7 of 24 from 3. That's 29%. Shot 41% field goal overall. It's not, pretty decent as a team. 23 of 55. Had 3 starters in double digits. Had a guy in double digits off the bench. Had 41 rebounds as a team, which, man, that's tough if you're going to give up 41 as a team. It was very interesting, I think, especially amongst the big men, Amari and Andrew Carr, where I'm like, especially Amari, like, dude's a brute, but plays defense a lot with his hands down. Not interested in really going up 2 hands, initiating contact, rebounding. And it's like, man, you're getting punked by guys who are like 5 inches smaller than you. And like somehow they're coming up with a rebound. Like, what's going on? I think, rebounding, a lot of it's really just giving a damn, just effort. And yes, I mean, there's obviously skill of like body. How do you manage to figure out like where's the ball going to come off? All that stuff. So, but if you're uninterested in fighting and going up for rebounds, playing physical against teams who are going to pretty much do that every night, outside of
kind of already lost there.
Yeah, there was some word of like, well, Western Kentucky's thrown out the blueprint, and I'm like, yeah, they did, but that doesn't mean that Kentucky can't match the intensity, or if not, be the first ones to throw the punch. And I think that's a little bit of kind of where I'm at too. I'm like, yeah, can we not be the ones just taking the punches?
Yeah,
like especially to start the game. I think that they're starting to eat crow a little bit on what seems like their interpretation of like, hey, we'll figure it out. Like, hey, I know we didn't have a good first half and we're down, but like we'll figure it out. It's fine. Like, you've kind of gotten burned now playing with fire. You got away with it with Duke and Gonzaga, especially on the road. It's happened a time or two at home,
which is impressive. If you're going to get away with it and win, the couple times, I mean, against Gonzaga and Duke, I mean, it's I think it's interesting to think about. I think we've talked multiple times on this podcast about the best college basketball teams are the ones who they have their plan A, but they also have a plan B and maybe even a plan C of how they're going to play this, how we're going to work this. And right now Kentucky's plan A is like, man, it's a lot of fireworks and we're going fast, we're going up and down, we're going to score in bunches. And I just wonder, do you feel like what is the plan B? Not that you're coach, I don't know, but because right now that's what it kind of like. I feel like if you watch like an NBA game, they all really have the plan A is just so good that they don't need a plan B because it's just we'll just do plan A more, and which is usually just make a million 3-pointers, and college teams you just can't do that.
Right.
And I feel like at least from a non-Kentucky person so far, it's like, man, when Kentucky is when plan A is working, they can beat everybody.
Right.
It's what happens when plan A doesn't work?
Yeah, I think part of me wonders if plan B we might see try to be rolled out against Mississippi State, if not the following game. I wonder if, like I said, I wonder if plan B is Kobe Bryant is starting, Jackson is coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And that
sounds like, or Jackson being more of what you kind of brought him in to be, and maybe for that, maybe that is him coming off the bench. Because like I think of Tennessee last year, it was we have our plan A and plan B is Dalton Connect, please save us. Do this by yourself. And it took us to the Elite Eight and won the SEC, and it worked.
I'm like at this point, especially with Kerr Kriisa being injured, because I think if Kerr wasn't injured, I think you're playing a little bit of house money on who do you throw in, because at that point you can talk about like you could put Lamont there as shooting guard and just push him over and let Kerr come in. Kerr's a big energy juice guy. He's definitely like you've seen him right over the years of buddy. You put him in, he's gonna launch it. He doesn't care. Like 40 feet out, screw it. I don't care. Throw it up. Yeah. And some of them go in, and then there's some you're like, oh my god,
you idiot.
You hit the side of the backboard. Yeah. But it's kind of awesome for a hot second. You're like, oh my god, if this is in. So him being hurt, I think really handcuffs you until he's healthy. And I mean, even when he's healthy, how long does that take for him to get back to full capacity? So for now, for who we got, I think Kobe needs to come in. He needs to start. Let Jackson come up. He'd be the first person off the bench. You can tag in, and I mean, maybe he's I don't know, maybe he's like a 20, 21 minute guy rather than 27 to 33 minute, full-time carrier of the team, especially if that's the case right now, where like I just said, he's not the value of saying in theory Jackson's going to play 30 plus minutes. Like, does it give you enough reason? Like, I think right now, like, no, I don't think that there's enough evidence to keep him on the floor, especially on the defensive side if he's not going to be scoring the bucket or scoring the ball. So put Kobe in, see what happens. You can maybe get a little fancy with like, okay, do we put Travis Perry at shooting guard? But
Kentucky guy.
Yeah. Hi.
Well, we waiting on putting them Kentucky boys.
Play the Kentucky guy.
If we can't win, put them Kentucky boys in, we might as well lose with them.
What do I know? We saw Reed Shepard do it, even though he didn't start. So what do I know? Yeah, it just I hope honestly they just go ahead and be like, hey, we gotta rip this band off. Let's see if it serves you well. Jackson, come off the bench. Make you feel more comfortable, because it's kind of what you did for the last 2 years at BYU. You don't have to be the guy, even though it was kind of pitched that way with the rest of the entire roster. Just I don't know. It may be terrible. Maybe you give it 2-3 games and then you're all kind of like, well, that was bad. And if that's the case, we're talking about plan C, which I'm like, maybe put the Kentucky boys. Just let them start at that point. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the fans are right. The call-in people. So, yeah, let's see. Let's just give Kobe some reps. I don't even think that means my man goes and hits another 5+ threes. But if the vision, like Pope always, keeps reiterating, is like, we want to get up at least 35 threes a game as a team. And like, okay, that means you're really just talking volume, and you are anticipating your best 3-point shooters and shooters in general, like, are going to hit, even if that means it's spread where a lot of guys hit 1 or 2, and then you have maybe 2 guys who hit 3 to 4.
Yeah.
It adds up. You hit double digits and then shoot 35 of them if you need to. So, yeah, I think my man's got, I will say, like, I feel really confident in if I think he and the staff are putting in the time to really dig in, watch the film, figure out, hey, what do we need to tweak here? And it's not, I don't know, man, maybe we need to do a shoot around. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get after it. I didn't want to do a shoot around. I just didn't want to wake up early, and we had a couple. We had a couple no shows, and
was it the breakfast buffet in the hotel?
I sat there and I told myself we should have done a shoot around. Yep, that would have done it, buddy. The shoot around that would have fixed it. All right, hey, real quick, let's do a couple dogs and donkeys of the week. I'll start if you're okay, unless you want to tag in. I know I yapped a lot.
Go for it.
Okay. Dogs of the week, the parents out there, little kids, shout out to you for figuring out how you're going to, I guess, stay at home, find a babysitter or something. That was school being called out tomorrow. So shout out to you. That's not easy.
Nope.
As somebody with a 4-year-old and 1-year-old, and 4-year-old attends blended pre-K 5 days a week. Thankfully, Dee obviously works in public school system, so we'll both be here. But I would have been fine. Like, Fridays are my days, but whoo! Talk about feeling like, hey,
not tomorrow, baby.
I might jump out a window today. It's not even 10 a.m. That would have been me. I would have been feeling that tomorrow. So, shout out to you, parents. Donkeys of the week. Con man, once again, brother. You just can't. You stay there, homie, until you give me a reason to, like, move you off. And then even then, I'm probably like, probably not. But
it just feels like at this point he's just like, it's just assumed he's donkey of the week.
Yeah,
or there's a sitting appointment on this podcast to give Coach Cal donkey of the week.
Permanent spot, bro. We'll build you a statue there.
Yeah.
Blue Cross Blue Shield, you also fit donkey of the week. Sending me a bill and being like, hey, we reopened the case and made a readjustment. I know it's been almost 2 years since your kid's birth. And, oh, yeah, we know that you paid a bill 6 months after, but we reopened that bill and we made it an adjustment. It's like, oh, okay. Oh. So the only explanation was, it was part of your deductible. Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Cool. So just a warning, like, hope nobody else's insurance carrier decides to be like, I think we're just going to reopen that.
Yeah, send them another one.
Yeah, pay us some more money.
What are they going to do about it?
We're not struggling for money. We just want more. Who else? Man, I had another one. I literally stomped in here and I had another one. I'll take a break. That was pretty good. Hey, how about you? Why don't you?
Dog of the week. Oh,
I have
you got it?
one. No, it's donkey, but I need you to say it. Go ahead. I'll see if you say it.
I don't know. My dog of the week is Mike Keith, new voice of the Vols, announced today.
This is the opposite of. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, that's big time.
we can parlay that. Yeah, it was announced today. The new old Blob Kessling. He announced this is his last season. Calling.
Hold on. Did you just refer to him as Blob Kessling?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Blob Kessling, aka Blob Kessling.
I have never heard any of you refer to him as Blob.
You've not heard Blob Kessling?
No, I know that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where I first heard Blob Kessling, but it's pretty appropriate.
The bit about, like, dude, you sound like so boring. Like, just
he's so bored.
Like, you're telling the story and you're just like, wow, what a 3. We just won the game. That is crazy.
Yeah. Wake up, man. Give me something. So, yeah, it's Blob's last season. It's, he's fine. It's not like he's bad, but it's just
he's fine.
For years now. It's like, get excited.
Yeah.
Get excited. These big I have said for years, it's like when Brazil catches the game-winning touchdown against Alabama this year, and he has all the enthusiasm of, like, like he found $5 on the ground. Like, oh, and Brazil catches a touchdown. Great. Like it's so frustrating. But the Vols announced that Mike Keith, goodness gracious. Mike Keith is the new voice of the Vols. And he's been the Titans guy forever. And Austin, are you there? You good? Austin? Hello? Hello? Are we there? Hello? Should I keep talking? Oh, it's just me now. Just me talking. Uh-oh. Your computer died. His computer died. If you're seeing this, his computer died. Oh my gosh.